All right, talking to Evan Morgan from Toronto, Ontario. He is the director of A Pretty Funny Story that played at the Wildsound Shorts in May 2013. How's it going, Evan?
Going great.
All right, so you were not in attendance for the film festival, so you got to see it on online. What was your first reactions of it? Of people's kind of polarizing reactions to it?
Well, it was the first time I've ever been able to get reactions that were that honest because I wasn't there at the time.
Yeah.
But they weren't surprising. Like I actually find it really fun to look at the sort of the range of people's responses, because depending on people's senses of humor or their personal preferences when it comes to dark comedy, obviously it's a polarizing experiment for them. But no, I enjoyed looking at the feedback.
Is there anything that stands out for you that you really anything that stood out for you, like one or two comments?
I loved the last comment. I feel like that lady really got the essence of the movie, in terms of what I was trying to do with the main character of the father. It was just, I can't think of that others specifically which spring to mind, but I just enjoyed the range.
Okay, so I'm gonna basically call out this film a little bit because so anybody who has not seen this movie, you can just shut up or listen to it because I'm not giving away everything. But the scene where the kid blew up, why did you do that? And was that always designed in the film? Because I think that's what shocked when I was in attendance. It shocked the audience. It was like stunned. People were stunned when they saw that scene.
Right. Well, yeah, no one expects that.
Yeah.
Because normally a movie won't show you something like that. Especially if you've had time to really become attached to the kid and to the cute, funny kid, you just don't expect to have that sort of graphic moment. For me, it was always a part of the story from the first draft that I wrote really quickly. I always took it for granted that unless the kid's head explodes, no one's really going to know for sure whether or not there was ever a bomb, and that ambiguity, I think, would have been problematic ultimately. It was just the other reason I took it for granted was because it's like that old saying: if you're going to show a gun in the first act, it has to go off in the third.
Yeah.
And I guess. As the writer, you're not really imagining these things with real human beings and real actors, and so the irony of it was always predominant for me, and the implicit humor of it, the fact that the kid gives the neighbor the finger and then moments later his head explodes. For me, it was just a very ironic moment, which I found hilarious, and I think it's more hilarious actually because it's so shocking. But that's just sort of the result of when you actually see it with real people rather than as characters in your head.
This is the polarizing aspect of the film because there's a certain tone to the film that has a certain comedic tone to it. Even the title of the film has funny in it. So basically, you want to laugh, you expect to laugh, and then all of a sudden that scene happens, which I think is great that you did it because it's very gutsy, especially for this short. But some people were just so overly offended by it, and other people just saw it as funny because, like you said, it's not a real life experience, I guess.
Right.
No, it's just any comments?
Yeah, I think that in the context of another story, murdering a kid just isn't funny at all, and no one's going to have much of a sense of humor about it. But in this story, it's such an ironic moment that the whole script has sort of been building towards, that I think it is implicitly humorous, and some people are only going to see the fact that we're killing a kid, and others are going to see how it, I think, perfectly kind of resolves all the tension that was placed in the story in a very ironic way. Again, it just depends on how people are reading it, and honestly, the people that are with the movie early and are laughing at the jokes earlier and are laughing when the neighbor enters their house at night and sprays them with some kind of sedative, the people that are laughing then are the same people that laugh at the end, whereas the people who are mortified from the very beginning are going to be even more upset about the ending. So it really is just a question of taste and the type of cinematic experiences that people are primed for.
Well, you accomplish your task with this movie because it's very well, like I was saying to you in email, it's like a very, and I even said in the moderation, it's like a very well done film. What about the casting? How did you get these, especially the father? He was so understated. Like did he just get it right away? Like when you casted him?
I got extremely lucky with casting. Everyone that came out to audition for the movie was non-union, and I watched a lot of different auditions trying to find the right people. And if anyone of those actors hadn't shown up or appeared, I think the movie would have been a lost cause.
Yeah.
But I think, like, because the script is so outlandish, the first tendency is probably to act towards the comedy, and so the only trick was just getting everybody on the same page that we're going to do this as a drama, even though the events are ludicrous. I want the performances to be real. And so that was, I mean, that was the key in terms of in terms of putting everybody in the same place, in the same world, and achieving that tone.
So how did you come up with this idea? Like, where did it come from in your psyche? Did you work in an office? Where the story, like, just out of curiosity, like, was the storytelling, like, aspect of, like, always wanting to be, popular, I guess? Like, even, it's kind of like a high school analogy where you always want to be, like, kind of the center and attention?
No, it was honestly just sort of a pure invention. Like, I was working on, I knew I had to write a short movie for a different assignment. It was supposed to be a 5-minute movie. And so I was just locked in my room, one evening trying to come up with ideas. And I had one idea that was just about somebody spotting somebody else, like, dancing, like a neighbor seeing a neighbor dancing through a window, and how humiliating that would be for the neighbor, which led to the notion of, okay, well, what does that neighbor now have to do in order to put them back on an even keel, and like, restore the balance. And then I had a previous idea about doing something where a kid has, like, a bomb in his head, except it was going to be a robot kid with, like, it's pure nonsense.
Yeah.
But it was realizing that those two ideas could overlap in this way that triggered the rest of the story. And so the whole idea of, well, why does the neighbor have to take such drastic action unless he's worried about the family telling the story? So the family has to have some incentive to tell the story. That means that the dad maybe is kind of a loser at work and wants to impress his coworkers. It all came out pretty quickly after those two ideas overlapped in my mind.
Okay. So this film is done pretty well. Like, it got at TIFF. What other festivals it played at? It played at a bunch of festivals so far, right?
Yeah, it premiered at TIFF in the fall, and it was at Clermont-Ferrand, the short film festival in France, and it actually took a prize there. So those are the two sort of most notable festival screenings so far. But it's been a few places in Europe, and it's been in a few American festivals. It's going to be playing in Seattle this week. So yeah, it's going to just play around, which is super cool.
And you also have, you were saying to me before, you have a feature film that you already produced and directed? That's
yeah,
the festival
directed. Yeah, I co-wrote it and produced and edited it.
Yeah.
With friends of mine, and it's called The Dirties, and it's sort of a faux documentary about kids who are really severely bullied in high school and start to come up with a revenge fantasy, which they want to document on videotape.
Is it a comedy?
It rides the line.
Yeah.
Like, I'd say no, it's not a comedy, but the characters are extremely funny, and so we kind of counter the natural tension of the story with a lot of humorous dialogue and improvisation and all that stuff. And that will be in select cities in October, and also on video on demand in October.
Oh, congratulations on that! So you're on your way. Like, obviously, you like pretty funny story. Like, the only film I've seen of yours is very well done. Like, you nailed the tone of a director. So you're on your way. Like, you kind of, like, most people, like, have a hard time finding the tone, especially in this type of film. So you got a good career ahead of you. You can pretty much guarantee that one.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that.
No, you do. Like, and what else? What else you got? Any other features going on in your head? What's your kind of goal? What do you kind of like aspire to do?
Yeah, no, I have a few features that I've been working on that I'm about, halfway through drafting, and also I have another short which has been scripted, which I'm hoping to find an opportunity to do in the next few months. And honestly, I see myself continuing to work in both realms. I think that there's a very unique opportunity provided by short films, which you lose when you make an official transition into features, and that is that the stories you can tell are so much weirder. You can embrace so much more absurdity in the context of a short, I think, than you can in a longer format. Like, I don't think a Pretty Funny Story could have survived a longer format just simply because what's at stake is so absurd and unnatural.
Yeah.
I don't think you could really sustain it for longer than 20 minutes.
And there's a new market for it too, obviously, in the last 4 or 5 years with the internet and people.
Which is awesome. Yeah, it's really cool. And there's so much fun to watch, and you can consume so many of them. And I love short films.
Oh, and congratulations again for this film. I'm glad we got to program it, and looking forward to some of your future films at our festival.
Well, great. Yeah, thanks so much for exhibiting it. I appreciate it.
Thank you.